Hey Lakers and class of 2026, it's Mr. Ream. This is the second part of our college and career workshop for fall of 25-26. And this one is specifically for your class. There are some specific updates that we need to go through with dates and deadlines and details that are changed a little bit year to year. So we're making a separate video that's going to give you the specific updates you need to know about your graduating classes, upcoming requirements for this school year. So hang in there. But just a reminder, if you guys have not yet watched the initial video, there's a QR code here. You can always pause the video and go on back to that video. It's going to cover in more general or generic terms the overall picture of what kind of the college process at a 4-year college and 2-year college in primary focus encapsulates throughout this upcoming school year. So you should definitely go back and watch that video. However, this is going to have some of those specific updates that you're going to be looking for your graduating class. So again, if you need to pause it, you can do that here. It's also shared on our school's YouTube page, so feel free to find that as well. So you should be getting these during this school year for your assistants. First things first is we are going to be starting to book student senior meetings. So these are going to be either your post-secondary plan or individual learning plan. We'll kind of use those words interchangeably, but ultimately this is going to be your annual meeting with myself. And so we are going to be meeting with all seniors this year. And so we'll start booking those meetings. And I will actually be inviting students and booking those meetings for you, the student, to make sure that everyone gets booked at the appropriate time by the end of November. And so you should start getting some invitations to that meeting in the next week or two from when I'm recording this towards the beginning of September. And so keep an eye out on your inbox. If for some reason that date, I will be gone at a sporting event or I don't have class and for some reason Mr. Ream missed that and I'll be off campus, when you get that invite, if you need to reschedule, there's actually a button on that invitation that says reschedule, and just click that and find a new time that's available that works for you. And that will definitely be the best way to handle that. It's also a meeting that I invite like a caregiver, your parent or guardian to. That's going to be something that I'm going to leave up to you, the senior, to facilitate. I'm going to hold that space for us, and then I will meet with whoever shows up. A couple notes regarding that, though. So again, if for some reason I book you at a meeting time that works for you, the student, but maybe doesn't work for that caregiver or parent, then please go ahead and again use that reschedule link to find a time that works for both of you. Another one would be it's only about a 20 or 30 minute meeting, and so if showing up in person creates a hassle or an inconvenience for a parent or guardian, feel free to just let me know. I can send a digital Google Meet invite to that person and they can join virtually so they don't have to get up and drive and leave the office or whatever their workplace might be and make it in for that short amount of time. But please do let me know. Try to let me know in advance regarding that. And then finally, if you do need translation for a parent or guardian, please try to let me know of that well in advance because if you would like them to join or if they would like to join our meeting, I need to also invite our interpreter, and her schedule is much more limited than potentially mine or yours. And so it could require us to potentially look back and reschedule that meeting for a time that they might be available. But I want to value and honor your time and respect some of the language barriers that sometimes that I bring to the table, not having great Spanish skills. But if you would like to have that, please just make sure that you indicate that or let me know prior to that. I don't want there to be any surprises. You will get an invite to the student TTUSD account. So please be checking your emails throughout this upcoming school year. And then those will start probably around September 15th that week. And then we will run with those. And my goal is to have 100% of you seniors having your meeting by the end of November, which is around November 28th. So we have about a month and 2.5 months to get those done. And I'm going to try to schedule about 3 to 4, maybe 5 a day that I can in that window of time until we're done. So if you do need to reschedule, just note that the calendar does cut it off on November 28th. So it's going to stop these meetings on November 28th. If for some reason we get close to that time, or you're watching this in November, and there's not any times remaining, I will likely extend that and open up those windows of time. But that gives me and us a hard target because I want to try to make sure that these things get done as early as possible. So it helps me kind of schedule those sooner rather than later. So keep an eye for that information. A couple dates and deadlines that I want you to write down. These are going to be pretty important dates and deadlines and specific for the class of 2026, this upcoming school year. In addition, I also want to remind you that these dates sometimes are fluid. Sometimes things happen in the world or get changes and updates. And so when you are making your way through your senior year, please regularly check your emails and Google Classrooms. So those are going to be the primary methods of getting communication from both us at school, myself and anybody else, but also from colleges or programs that you're working on applying to, or scholarships or things like that. Okay, they're typically not going to be sending you text messages, phone calls. You're going to primarily get the email notifications. Hey, you're missing this. Hey, this deadline's coming up. Hey, this deadline has changed earlier or later. So double check that you are regularly and creating a habit of checking that email. I would say once to twice a week minimum would be the expectation for seniors. So just make that a thing this year. Here are some of the deadlines. I'm going to go through each of these real briefly, but you can always snap this down, write this on your calendar. Just make sure that you have updates and information getting recorded in some fashion. So both the CSU and UC applications will close on December 1st, 2025. So you're going to have to get those applications submitted to the CSU and UC schools by that December 1st deadline. Typically it's November 30th, but I believe that falls on a weekend or over a holiday, so they extend that typically to the next kind of business day following that. So that's December 1st this year. So you get an extra day to get those things in. I always encourage for these types of applications, aiming for that Thanksgiving holiday window, trying to get everything wrapped up before then so that you can enjoy your Thanksgiving holiday, have whatever you guys eat at that time of year, and then can have this weight lifted off of your shoulder. Common App has deadlines that vary. Okay, so you'll see anything from mid-October to January, February, or even up until April and May of next year. And so you do need to know and understand your deadlines if you're applying to schools on the Common application, and make sure that you're setting yourself up for success in meeting those deadlines. In addition, you need to make sure that we have enough time to meet your deadlines as well, especially for those early applications, your early decisions and early application cycles. We have a little bit less flexibility in terms of getting our documentation in to the schools. That includes any transcripts, letters of recommendation, and things like that. Okay. The AP exam deadline and the registration for that will be November 7th this upcoming fall. So make sure that you're writing that down. Miss Django Cohen will actually be the counselor in charge of all the AP process. So you'll be getting emails and information from her. But that is the final deadline to indicate that yes, I would like to take any AP exam, including online exams or things like that. You need to make sure that all of that stuff is taken care of by then. There will be no additional way to register for AP exams following that November 7th deadline. Letters of recommendation, I covered a little bit in the other video, but I just want to reiterate that we as staff and teachers need at least 2 weeks notice, preferably more, but 2 weeks is kind of the minimum that we would kind of like expect to have things turned around for you. More than likely, you're not the first person on our list when you ask us to write that letter, and so just because you have a last minute, didn't plan ahead need, that we will shuffle things around or stay up until 10 p.m. or work on this at home. So part of this is your professional planning as a student and giving us adequate time to make sure that we can help support your application, because we want to do that. But sometimes if you don't give us enough time, we have to regretfully decline because we don't have enough time to complete it on our end. The National College Decision Day is every year. It's May 1st. So May 1st, 2026 is when most universities and schools are going to be expecting what they call the Statement of Intent to Register, or SIR. That is basically you paying your deposit, indicating usually through a portal that you're going to be attending that individual school. And we will cover a little bit more about this, but I want that to be kind of like your drop. I'm making my college decision deadline. Most people have it typically figured out a little before that. On the right side of the screen here, you'll see the FAFSA, or California Dream Act application. That's what the CADA means. Both of those are the federal and state level financial aid applications. We're going to be hosting some financial aid information and sharing some details with you a little bit later this year. If you're watching this in September, usually in October is when we kind of start formulating some workshops and information around financial aid, because it's not open until October 1st. So that's when it's scheduled to open, as long as everything, knock on wood, works the way that we hope it should. So that starts on October 1st. And then the California deadline, each state sets its own deadline, but the California deadline is March 2nd, 2026. So that is the deadline for, if you submit after that, you actually can, but you lose out on a lot of money. There's a lot of money that goes away related to Cal grants and some money for junior colleges and things like that. So March 2nd is definitely the target date that you want to have that done by. Again, it's open October 1st. I typically encourage, just like with kind of the California applications for college admissions, aiming for that kind of like Thanksgiving, early December, maybe winter break as a strong target to get those things done. In addition, you're going to need some of that information on our local community scholarships, which typically open in January. We haven't got any firm dates yet from the organization that runs that, the Tahoe Truckee Community Foundation. But they're typically due towards the end of March. Once again, this is something that you'll get some updates on as we go through the school year. Every senior should consider applying for the local scholarships. There's hundreds of thousands of dollars that local community organizations or donors support our students with, and it is a super privilege to get some of that money from our community. And often students who probably would qualify and get some of those dollars don't apply because they don't consider themselves maybe ready for that scholarship, or that they would qualify for something, or consider that maybe the program or path that I'm pursuing would qualify for a scholarship. Trade schools, technical schools, apprenticeships even have some dedicated scholarship dollars that can help offset costs. And then finally on this slide, all senior outside credits. This is an important one for anyone doing online school. So this would be Sierra College, LTCC, BYU, UC Scout, Silicon Valley Virtual High School, or any of these other programs that require you to take coursework outside of our school. Coldstream does not apply to this, but everything else typically will. All of those credits you should put on your calendar May 22nd as the very last date when you should be having everything into your school that you're running this through. That gives you about 2 weeks for that program to receive, grade, and process those final transcripts that we then would need to actually process you for graduation and high school graduation ceremonies. So that is going to be super important. If you do not have it done and we do not get that grade in, potentially you might not be able to participate in some of our graduation ceremonies here in June. So please make sure that you double check that information. Financial aid, we are going to be talking more about that this year. There are a couple things that we covered in the last slide, but just remember, financial aid is an important process. I would encourage every student to apply for financial aid. In addition to the FAFSA, there's a secondary application just to be aware of for seniors. It's called the CSS profile. It's run through the College Board. That's tied to some of the more selective or more expensive, typically private schools that could be tied to your admissions and application process. So you do want to double check that for any schools. There's about 250 schools out there that require or have an optional CSS profile scholarship application that you would need to submit. It's kind of like the FAFSA or financial aid application kind of expanded, but it is a separate process that you just need to be aware of. Once again, CSS profile run through the College Board. That's an earlier fall timeframe that you should be checking for, especially with some of those more selective institutions. In addition, you'll get some notices from us as we go through the school year related to the FAFSA opt-out. So if you choose to not submit your financial aid applications, either the FAFSA or the California DREAM Act, California actually requires all seniors to actually fulfill that application or file an opt-out form. There's an opt-out process. If your family's not planning on filing this, we would just need to collect that from you by basically May. And so we'll share some details about that. Or if you have questions about filing your FAFSA or your financial aid, and if it's right for you or if it's worthwhile, definitely feel free to reach out. So that's another to keep aware. Finally, community service, just a reminder, this is a graduation requirement. All students at NorthTahoe High School now, unless you were not enrolled all 4 years within a TTUSD school, do have a 30-hour community service requirement to graduate. This is just a reminder to keep abreast of what those things are and where you stand with that. Mr. Jordan Holst, our career tech, is our primary point of contact for community service. If you're looking for opportunities or curious of how many hours we actually have recorded for you, you can talk to him. Your Pathways teachers also typically have access to some of that information as well, but he is our primary point of contact for community service. This is like, if you don't have the 30 hours documented and you're required to have those, it's like failing in English. You will literally not get a high school diploma. You will not be able to participate in graduation, and just, you want to avoid that. Try to get that done as soon as possible. Usually the fall and early winter times are when the majority of our community service opportunities that we have kind of provided to us happen. And so if you take advantage of those, you'll be good to go. If you tend to wait, sometimes the later spring tends to be lighter in terms of our community service opportunities and fewer and far between. So definitely you want to take advantage of those opportunities early on in the school year. And then just remember, if you didn't complete community service in years past, that is a requirement that accumulates over time. And so you want to make sure that you're not just required for the 8 hours of past pathways this year. If you're missing a portion of those from prior years, you still do also need to make those up. So double check. We will make sure that we are communicating actively with those students, especially those who are like missing half or more. You'll be getting some contact from us as well as parents at home. And then lastly, graduation, all the way at the end of the school year, something that we're all looking forward to. And believe it or not, it'll be here quicker than we know it. But just a reminder that that will happen on June 6th, which is a Saturday. And then awards night will happen on June 4th. That awards night has invitations that will go out once we finalize who is actually receiving an award and a scholarship and all that fun stuff. So keep an eye out for that. But that's just a great target and a reminder to end our video on of graduation is coming. We're going to be working with you guys over the next 8 or 9 months to kind of get there and make this year successful, happy, fun, and kind of like wrapping up that 12 years of required education before you take the next steps into what comes next. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. My information is on our website. I will make sure that you'll be hearing from me throughout the school year. And just a reminder that you'll start getting some invitations to those senior meetings. And if you have any questions following this or want to revisit, just remember you can go back and rewind. And then once again, go make sure that you have watched the general video that we've shared and posted as well. Thank you and have a wonderful day.